Hey, this is Kirby with Electric Fossil Studio in Milford, Delaware. And today I wanted to talk about recording consoles. So, if you followed the Instagram or Facebook, you've noticed I've talked about recording consoles. And I started to realize to myself that perhaps no one knows what I'm talking about. There's a chance that everyone's like, yeah, I get it. Why does that matter? Why does it matter that Pearl Jam used an API recording console? What are you talking about? Um, because people think of console, they may think of a gaming console or something like that. They don't know what I'm talking about. So, um, recording studios, and there's not one way to do it, but there's the larger recording studios will get a recording console. A recording console essentially is a collection of individual channels of preamps and equalizers. So in one channel, you'll have a input gain, an equalizer, that's just a treble, bass, middle, and then a level at the bottom. And then you can solo and mute and all that kind of fun stuff for each of those channels. Now, the console is the collection of all of those channels. So, in my case, the API 16082 has 16 channels. And then, various other subgroups and all that kind of fun stuff. But of actual recording, 16. So different studios have 16, 24, 32, usually goes by 4 or 8, 48, and then of course you get 64 channels and things like that. But that's also if you're recording orchestras and insane amounts of um, parts or inputs needed. Okay, so recording console is so when you have a band like this, you have a drum set, you have guitars. So a drum set usually takes 8 to 10 to 12, maybe 14 inputs sometimes, depending on how many room mics you want to use. So we'll just say 10 for argument's sake. So 10 mics, so 10 different inputs are sent through the wall into the recording console and then out to the computer. So the signal picked up from when someone hits the drum goes to the preamp. I adjust the gain, adjust the level, adjust the EQ on each individual input. So when you hear, someone doing the check where they're just whacking the snare drum or kick drum, that's to get the levels to make sure it's not too much and it's also not too little. There's a little sweet spot. So the band sets up. So you have 10 inputs. So let's say of drums. And then you get a bass. Maybe you have 1 or 2 inputs of the bass. Now you're at 12. And then you mic a couple of guitars. Or let's say 2 guitars. So now you're at 14. Then you have a singer. You want to do a scratch track, or you want to do the live vocal. Maybe you have 2 singers. So we'll say that's your 16. I also have 4 additional channels of APIs that can go up to 20 if need be. Recording all of that stuff at the same time, when you record it all or hear it all, and I can hear the entire mix before as it's going into being recorded onto the computer, I can hear how it all gels together. And if it's all in a single recording console, it's right in one unit that you can kind of hear it, how it's going to be in the final mix somewhat. You're always going to tweak it a little bit once it's in the box. And in the box meaning in the computer. The individual recording consoles vary. So API is a sound that, and I just list the artist because it's hard to. I don't even want to explain what the sound is. I probably can't really quantify it for you, but I can just say some of your favorite records, as I've listed: Foo Fighters, Wasting Light, There's Nothing Left to Lose, One by One. Weezer did the album OK Human on an API recording console. Van Halen 1, 2, Fair Warning, Women and Children First, Diver Down, API-based recording console. Oh gosh, now I'm blanking off the top of my head. Led Zeppelin did some work on Led Zeppelin 2 and Led Zeppelin 4 at Sunset Sound, API recording console. And I've gone through Prince, Purple Rain, 1999 on API recording console. It has a distinct characteristic. There are other recording consoles and equipment such as Neve, and if you ever watched Sound City, you kind of get hip to the Neve sound and what was used on that. But I'll use a great example: Fleetwood Mac. Their album with like Rhiannon, I think it's just called Fleetwood Mac. The album with Rhiannon on it, that was recorded at Sound City. That was recorded on a Neve. The album Rumors, which is the one with Gold Dust Woman and all of those songs, that was recorded on API.
Well, did she make you cry, make you break down, shadow?
So that's the one band you can hear the kind of the differences in the sound between the two. Ultimately, it's the musicians that count, that the musicians playing on the console that really matters, not as much as the equipment. However, it makes life a lot easier. You can get to the finished product a lot faster with nice equipment. That's why the investment was made in an API recording console. API, because my favorite bands recorded on an API, and it's more closer to the sound that I'm looking for than anything else. And they were right across the bridge in Maryland. We're here in Delaware, so it made a lot of sense. So that's what a recording console is. It's a collection of channels. A collection of channels that record all of the signals at the same time, or receive all the signals at the same time before they get to the computer. So I get to color it, I get to add EQ, add treble, adjust things a little bit before they get sent to the box. And it helps with the mixing, it helps with the finished product in a much faster way. Also, the quality of the recording, the quality of the vocal, the bass of the drums, everything is, to me, exponentially better than a traditional flat, clean digital preamp. It just, to me, it is. So that's why it matters to me. That's why it should make somewhat of a difference to you as far as recording here versus just getting a little box and recording at home, which you can do, and you can make records that way too. But hopefully that helps. If you want to book some time, feel free to reach out through Instagram, Facebook. You can also email me at electricfossil@yahoo.com. And again, this is Kirby at Electric Fossil Studio. Talk to you soon. See ya.